What is up, heathens? Today I'm answering your comments from Friday's video. If you want to join in on the next comment video, have your questions answered, please leave a question or a comment down below, and we just may cover it on the next episode. Alright, let's jump on into the comments, shall we? Ahab the Plant. Anyways, cool name, bro. What 12-year-old talks like that? You can tell by that he's reading a script. Okay, by the way, the kid... okay, so this is on last Friday's video. If you want to know exactly what he's talking about, you just gotta go watch it. But the kid sounded a little ridiculous in it. Like, he just sounded off. I don't know. It's like the tone of his voice or whatnot just seemed like he wasn't really being, like, I don't know, himself or something. His voice sounded weird. But you could definitely tell that he was reading from a script, or at least regurgitating what had been indoctrinated into him. It was truly horrifying. Like, I would not want my son to ever respond to me like that. I want real answers. I don't want some pre-recorded script that I've shoved in your head. What is your biggest issue with the idea of pro-life? I'm not pro-life, not pro-choice. However, I lean towards abortion being allowed because it's generally better for society. Well, I would say that maybe you're a little confused on what pro-choice actually is, because pro-choice is just saying, hey, I think people should be able to make their own choices about their body. That's what pro-choice is really about. It's not, I don't know what you might think it is, but just pro-choice is just allowing people to make that decision for themselves, because it is a very personal decision. My biggest issue with the idea of pro-life is that it makes a person follow paradigms or ideals set forth by other people that don't hold the same ideals. You're basically forcing an opinion on somebody when it doesn't need to be forced on them. Like, if someone doesn't want to get an abortion, don't have an abortion. But you shouldn't sit there and force somebody else to not have an abortion when they either should have one or they want to have one. Regardless of your opinion as to how abortion should be used, like, I know that there's the whole myth out there that some women use abortion like birth control or something. If that's not just a myth and that really is an epidemic out there, I think that there needs to be better sex education. I think that we need to increase things like that in order to educate people about, like, what actually is abortion. Because right now, you have so many people out there that are pushing false narratives of what abortion actually is. I think that a lot of people are misinformed and they just buy into it. But just in general, my biggest deal with pro-life is the fact that you're pushing your ideals onto other people that just don't have those ideals. Eric, how could there be vegetative reproductive plants given the flood? Since all I heard was the seed surviving argument, is that a good for them counter argument to this? Well, I would say that you got a very good question there, is how could there be vegetative reproductive plants given the flood? I don't know how they could be, unless maybe Noah collected the different seeds of the earth, and then he went on a Johnny Appleseed kind of thing after the flood waters receded, and he just sort of tossed them out there and let them grow. Because, the rain lasted 40 days and 40 nights, but they didn't find land for, I think, about a year or so. So, I mean, apparently the entire earth was underwater for like a whole year before they found land or made landfall while the waters were receding. So, I don't know how. They definitely wouldn't have been able to survive in water if they were vegetative plants that are meant to survive on land. After a whole year of it, they most likely would have died out. Only the plants that were evolved to live in the sea would have survived. So I think that's a very good argument, and I don't have a good answer for that. But as far as the theological, what do Christians say? They pop in God there. They just draw God as a magical cloud, and it just becomes a God at the gaps argument. Edwin, question, why does GE use such a huge microphone? as does most YouTubers. Because the huge microphones are generally the condenser mics, and they give you better sound. I'm not too particular on how crisp my sound is. Obviously, because I just record at my computer in my house. I'm not too particular about it, but I do like having a good mic. The good mic does make my voice sound a lot cleaner, and that's what I focus on. Joey, what is your favorite genre of music, and what artist do you jam the most to? Let's see. Genre of music. I like all kinds of genre of music. I go through phases. At one point, I was listening to a lot of Lonely Island, and then other times, like the classical rock, like Black Sabbath, Aerosmith. I like Aerosmith. Classic rock, I really love. Pop rock, some pop, some punk. There's some rap that I like. It has to be more of the like Tupac kind of narrative rap, not the whole black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow for 5 fucking minutes. Like, I can't stand that shit. But if it's got some decent like rhymes to it, then I can get into it. This whole black and yellow kind of fucking rap is just not my thing. What are your thoughts on right-wing alternative truth, and do you have any advice for the media about fighting alternative truth, as you have been fighting it before they knew it was a thing? Well, on right-wing alternative truth, I think that, like you said, that they've been pushing the whole narrative for a while of alternative truth. I kind of hate that it took Trump to get into the position that he is in order for people to really see the alternative truth that people push. But I guess at least it's getting some kind of credence now that's what they're pushing. As far as fighting alternative truth, what I have to say about that is just make sure you have good sources, and make sure the sources check out. Make sure that the sources are reliable or trustworthy. It's fine if you want to make commentary on something, but what you really need to have as the foundation of whatever your commentary is hard facts, and not just guesstimation or these random like web pages that look like they're from fucking 1995. All right, Kevin comes back with I started a new page called My Alt Facts on Facebook. It'll be linked down below if you want to go and like it and follow it. But KC had put in the comments that we started that in response to the alternative news or the alternative truth, and he just responds with, "It doesn't though. Like, you've been fighting alternative facts for years. Do you feel vindicated?" I don't feel vindicated. I feel like the alternative facts are going to get a little bit more extreme now. I think that you'll see more prominent people spreading alternative facts or propaganda, or just lies, if you want to say it that way. I think you'll see more of that. I don't feel vindicated because it's still there. See, or is it worse now than ever before? I wouldn't say worse. I think that the absurdity of it will get worse, but I don't think that they'll necessarily be pushing it even more, or that it's going to gain even more legitimacy. I think that just more and more people will realize that, this is bullshit, and you need facts to back your shit up. Is it, as it appears to me, at a new level of cognitive dissonance in spite of everything we, like the Godless engineer fans, stood for? I think that we are kind of at a new level of cognitive dissonance, because you have a lot of people that are just fine with the propaganda. You have a lot of people that are publicly like, yeah, sure, I'll fucking die to fuck Obamacare in the ass. I get that Obamacare is not the best thing out there. I get that it needs to be fixed. And I even thought that it needed to be fixed when it was passed. For Republicans to think that they can just rip it out from underneath Americans, or they can just simply repeal it and be done with it, I think is a bit reckless, and really just shows how much they don't know about government or running a country. I think that the cognitive dissonance is pretty tough, and that even some people that were claiming to be skeptical are now kind of leaning towards this cognitive dissonance. Mike Havoc, what are some of your favorite books or authors in regards to atheism, agnosticism, etc.? I've been reading The God Delusion by Dawkins and looking for some books that are comparable to it. Keep up the good work. Well, I mean, there's a lot of books out there. let's see. Dan Arrow's Secular Activist is really good. Also, if you're a parent, another one that's good is his book on secular parenting. Annie Dawkins' book is pretty good, as well as Hitchens or Sam Harris. Sam Harris is a bit more philosophical in his arguments. Like The Moral Landscape is really good if you want to argue with people about morality and religion. He paints a pretty good picture of how morality exists in our reality, and I think it's very convincing. So that's a good one. Any of Sam Harris's stuff is really good to read up on, regardless of how you feel about him. I think that he writes really good books and he makes some pretty good points. But let's see. Okay, so let me actually make the screen big for this that I got. All right, so here's the Secular Activist by David Arrell. This has a lot of really great stories and whatnot about secular activists in our community and how they do their secular activism. I actually have a playlist of me interviewing Dan Arrell over this very topic, over his book. So if you want to check that out, please do. And then there's this one book. Now, it is like a fictional narrative, but it's based on some facts. That's Mythos Christos by Edwin Herbert. Edwin Herbert. I haven't actually been able to crack this yet, but it's about Jesus mythicism. Richard Carrier has a lot of good books. If you're a mythicist or want some good arguments as to why Jesus probably didn't exist, Richard Carrier is the guy to go to, I would say. This one is Science Education in the Early Roman Empire. Again, haven't been able to crack this, but I'm hoping to soon. But I got this from him. It's even signed and everything. But there's also On the Historicity of Jesus. Him at Meta is a really good blogger. A lot of the blogs, I read a lot of blogs right now. Him at Meta is a pretty good blogger, as well as Dan Arrell, JT Eberhardt. Sherilyn Wilson. What, in your opinion, is the most stupid thing an apologist has ever said? Ha ha ha. I don't know. I've heard a lot of stupid things. There's got to be a tie between this one pastor guy that was in a Darwin documentary that said that if the Bible had 2 + 2 = 5, he would work that into his worldview. Or the most recent, Dr. Gene Kim, who says that the earth is hollow, hell is in the center, and Hitler lives there. Gray Sky 2021. So, I'm an atheist living in a Christian family. Since I live in a religious household, I hear talk of God often. I try to take my mind off the concept of hell, but it has always been something I've been terrified of, and I don't know how to make that fear go away. Any advice on that subject? Well, I can definitely relate, because me first coming out of religion in general, I had to shake a lot of those. But once I really spent some time thinking about it and getting used to the idea that hell just doesn't exist, it actually allowed me to feel a lot freer. It lifted a lot of guilt off my shoulders, and I was able to live a much happier life when I realized that I'm not going to burn in hell for jerking off to porn. But seriously, as far as dealing with family members that are very religious and you're not very religious, generally what I do is I focus on the parts that are not religious. And generally with my family, at least, I try not to discuss religion because they hate me. If you can have a civilized conversation about religion with your loved ones, I would say do it. Don't be very... it's not necessarily firebrand of you, it's not necessarily don't be firebrand about it. It's more like don't be hateful about it or don't be accusatory about it. You don't have to be aggressive about it. You can be firebrand and still not be those things. So by that, what I mean is you can be you cannot be afraid to broach the subject. You cannot be afraid to call them out on the inaccuracies. As long as you do it in a respectful manner, I think that you could have very productive conversations with your family members and possibly even change their minds. Because what I have found that it's not you yourself that changes their minds, it is themselves that change their own minds. They have to make the decision for themselves. So don't focus on trying to convert them or deconvert them or anything like that. They are the ones that have to make that decision. So with you in the position that you're in, them trusting you, I'm not sure about your home life, but them trusting you would allow them to take your opinion into much greater importance. They might be more prone to consider it rather than just some angry Facebook atheist that just wants to call them stupid or something that's not related to dick. Harris Rehan, do you think religious indoctrination and political indoctrination, e.g. teaching your children to be feminists or hate Hillary Clinton or be pro-gun, are on the same level? I wouldn't say exactly on the same level. I would say that if you're playing a game of hand grenades, you would definitely kill both of them with one. I don't think that they're on the same level, though. I think that religious indoctrination is very abusive in multiple ways. You have the emotional aspect of it, and then you could also have the physical aspect. I think religious indoctrination is much worse than political indoctrination, but that's just because religion is much more emotional, and most of the time it reaches deeper into your psyche. Although, like feminism, it can be tantamount to religion almost. Here's Harris Rahan. Being a pretty active atheist, if that makes sense, if I had a kid, I'd likely want to talk religion with them. However, I wouldn't want to indoctrinate them. What would you say is the threshold age, mental maturity, etc., at which expressing my own views stops making the kid more biased towards my views? Sorry if this was poorly worded. I'm not... Okay. You're not American, maybe? I would say that, like, around the tweens, I guess you could say, like, between the ages of, like, 11 and I would say 14, 15, something like that. Or whenever your kid starts coming home and talking about God or religion because his classmates are. Huggy! Some people argue that Leviticus only counts for the ancient Hebrews in the desert. Can I argue against it, and how? Sorry for my shitty English. You know who's got shittier English? Trump supporters! No, I'm just joking. Conservatives! No, I'm kidding again. Just idiots. Yeah, Tea Party people. So, as far as how Leviticus works and everything like that, this is where cherry picking comes in, because you're not going to be able to get around cherry picking with Christians. If they're already in the habit of cherry picking, they've been told and taught by their pastors that cherry picking is okay and that that it's not actually cherry picking, that you're just taking it into context. So a more complex argument for Leviticus is that Leviticus holds 3 separate sets of laws that we are to follow. One of them were cultural laws that only applied to the ancient Hebrews. Other ones were moral laws, and then there were like the legal laws or whatnot. And so what they do is they focus on the moral laws, like, don't have gay sex, or if a woman like it's bad to have consensual sex before marriage. Like those kind of things are reminiscent of the moral laws of Leviticus. And then you have the cultural laws, which interestingly enough, they actually half Leviticus 20:13 and say that, oh, well, that just means that God doesn't like it when you're gay. And then the cultural part is go kill motherfucker. So like they're just totally fine with God killing homosexuals then. It's just now we have Jesus, right? But the way that I would argue against that is that you can't just cherry pick it. The Old Testament has the 10 Commandments in it, which Christians hold very dearly today. You could definitely argue that it was only meant for the Jews, although they may come back with, oh, well, Jesus reaffirmed them later. It's like, well, Jesus also said, I didn't come here to change the law. I only came here to fulfill it. So, I mean, there's a lot of back and forth that you can do, and you can really chase them around the tree, as it were, as to, excuses that they can run out of. You'll find that if you chase them around long enough, they'll get tired, and they'll just be like, well, God wouldn't have you kill gay people. Like, I'm not even speculating this. Like, this is legit happened. Like, they just say, oh, God is good, so he wouldn't have you do that, and or they might feed you the Jesus line again. But I think that arguing it in circles is necessary at this point, because they're not going to see the circles unless you chase them around the circle. All right, Monocle Squid. Question: what advice do you have for coming out to family or loved ones about being atheist? I'm in college and still financially dependent upon them, but I absolutely absolutely cannot stand the part of Christianity, being a part of Christianity any longer. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I wouldn't want to be a part of Christianity either. But if you're still financially dependent upon them, you might want to play it up for a little bit. I think that, well, it's not exactly true. If your parents are the type of parents that are like, hey, you have to believe in God or you're fucking out of here. If you think that there's any chance, any remote chance that they could like throw you out on your ass, that way you don't get, your degree or anything like that, I think that will put you in a very bad position that will affect you for the rest of your life. And I don't see it being dishonest or disingenuous or anything like that, playing it up for your parents until you get on your feet. See, this is kind of the burden that the atheist community has of not placing God up on this high pedestal or leaving the faith in general, is that we risk, being put out on our ass. There's no atheist parents out there that are like, you believe in God? I will not have a son that believes in God. Get the fuck out. You're going to go live in the gutter from now on. Go to that Salvation Army over there, you fucking Christian. Like, I don't see religious parent or non-religious parents doing that. I see them not giving a fuck whether or not you believe in God. But I would definitely play it up for them, at least for right now. I mean, you don't have to be like enthusiastic about it, but if you just do as they want for right now, and then later you can broach the subject, but that's only if you think that they're going to go all crazy fucking psycho about it. If you think that they're going to be cool about it, or your experiences with them in the past have denoted that you can talk to them about this, like. One way that you could test the waters, as it were, would be like bring up like all these crazy people that don't think God exists. Like you could kind of casually bring it up and bring it up in a way that you don't like. It doesn't make it sound like you are an atheist. Although you do kind of open up yourself to being like, "Whoa, hey there, Monocle. Do you still believe in God?" Coming from your mom or your dad if he's got a high enough a voice. So, I mean, you do open yourself up for that possibility. You just got to be prepared to maybe, voice some like skepticism. Like, no, I still believe in God. I don't know. You can be like that. How do you handle your family's religious values with your kid? Do you have to have any conversations with them? Generally, what I do is, I reinforce to them that he's too young to really talk about those subjects. Or, I just kind of casually like try to get some distance between Xander and that conversation. Not that person really, but just that conversation. And of course, if I had someone that was religiously crazy in my family, I'm definitely not letting my son stay with him overnight. God knows he'd come back with with like one of those ash crosses on his head and be like, "We took a swim at the church, Daddy!" And, then I just have to get all fucking crazy on him. And that's not going to be good for people. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I'm an angry elf or a Hulk. Either one. For you, what was the hardest part about giving up God being in the South? Well, I mean, I would say the hardest part of me leaving religion and admitting that I was an atheist was figuring out that I was an atheist. I mean, honestly, I think pretty rational, logical, and I try to filter out, at least I try to filter out some emotion. Sometimes the emotion takes over in me, but when it comes to things that I believe, I try to look at them from a very analytical point of view. I stress try because I'm still working on it, but I try. But I try to look at it analytically. So for me, it was kind of a light switch situation as far as believing in God, because I'm like, well, I don't believe these things, so therefore, I must not believe in this version of God. But it was the figuring out that I was an atheist that was the hardest part, because I, had to break through a lot of things personally for me about, my perceptions of being an atheist, or what the connotations of what it means here in the South. And, once I was like, yeah, I'm an atheist, I mean, I felt very liberated. It was so great admitting to myself that I was an atheist. And I can say with 100% certainty, like if I could be more than 100% certainty, I'd be 1,000% certainty that I am not going to go back to religion at all. Like there's no way that I could be like, yep, I believe in God again, guys. Jesus is the only way to heaven. And I'm going to be the godly engineer now. Y'all need to repent or you're going to go to hell. Like, there's no way you're ever going to hear that out of my mouth. Tullius Agrippa, you should script your video. Your off-the-cuff commentary is not very good. A bit of scripting would make your videos very valuable. I disagree. I scripted my videos for a whole year before I started doing off-the-cuff stuff. I just can't memorize a script for shit. I know you don't like Trump, but what is your thoughts on many big atheist channels supporting Trump and hence supporting religion in the government? Well, I would say that they are definitely voting, like those with big channels that voted for Trump. If they voted for Trump, then they would have to admit that they did vote for religion in government. They would have to admit that they voted to keep a significant amount of religious influence in our government system, as well as capitalist influence. Trump prided himself on draining the swamp, but he's only filled the swamp with more fucking people that are just like the ones that he got out of there, except he's cut out the middleman. Now he's putting the people that were backing and bribing the politicians, he just went ahead, put them fucking in the government. And I was like, here, you know that place you were lobbying like 2 years ago? Well, there, I'm fucking giving it to you. Is basically what Trump has done. You do have to come to the realization that you voted for a lot of things. You don't vote for half of a candidate. You vote for the entire candidate. So like when you read Trump's agenda, and part of his agenda is to repeal the Johnson Amendment as well as Roe v. Wade. For some reason, he's keeping gay marriage. I don't know why about that, but when you read these things, you can't just write them off as, oh, he's not going to do it. Oh, I'm not voting for that. Well, no, you don't vote for part of Donald Trump. You vote for the whole shit Cheeto that he is. All right, guys, that is it for the comments. I appreciate everybody's questions or comments that you left in there. Please, if you were featured in this video, definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know your response to what I said. If you want to possibly be featured in the next episode, please drop me a question down below or a comment in general. But for these videos, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the video over to you guys a little bit, and I want you guys to vote on the stupidest comment that I was able to find for this particular edition. Each episode, we're going to have 3 comments, and we're going to feature them right here at the end, and you're going to be able to vote on them by clicking on one of the cards that we have listed. And that's how you vote. You just click on the card of the video that it's on, and I will be able to see which one's the most popular. If you want to see which one won, or if your particular dumb comment won out, check back in on the next episode, because I will let you know at the very beginning which card won and which was the dumbest comment. Okay, so first up we have Stephen Roblo. Fag/pedophiles need to be put to death by our government. LGBT, let God burn them. Next up is Robert Lefebvre. After 1 minute of looking at your dumb face, obviously, and simply not thinking or having any spark of intelligence, chow dumbfuck, enjoy your total dumbness. You don't seem to care about real reality. It's easier for your brain. You can't really prove any of your theories. That's why you so dumb. And finally, Kazoo! Vice President Pence statement to be on... Goddamn. Kazoo! Vice President Pence statement to be on bended knee is to pray. You, podcaster, are a sad person. So definitely click any of these annotations right here, and we will be out of here. If you want to see more dumb comments, definitely share this video out with your friends. We will see you guys later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.